Back with Bobby and JJ Radio, and we have Mr. Kelly Meyer from New Braunfels Brewing Company. I want to say, hey, Kelly, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah, so New Braunfels Brewing Company does, I don't know if anyone knows that you guys are brewing beer out there between Austin and San Antonio. Talk about that.
Middle of nowhere for you guys, huh?
It kind of, no, it used to be. I remember when we first got into real estate, New Braunfels was like,
what's the hotspot now?
Seguin's cuter cousin, but now it's blowing up. It's, I think, the second fastest growing city in the U.S. after Georgetown, which is north of Austin.
Yeah, I would appreciate it if people quit saying that so they stop coming.
Well, I don't know why they bring more people there, but yeah, it is. Yeah. It's happening. I mean, leaps and bounds. Commercial wise, it's getting crazy out there. The residential side, it's blowing up. So I'm sure you guys are feeling that, which is, I'm sure, a good thing, right? Yeah,
it's great. We got a lot of new people coming in all the time, and we're kind of Texas back playground too. So we get someone from Houston, Dallas, Austin every weekend. So
awesome. Yeah. So how did this New Braunfels Brewing Company start? How did you get into all this stuff? Why are you here?
Well, I was extremely qualified. My wife and I used to have 8 fitness centers, and so we decided we didn't want to actually work anymore. So got out of the fitness centers, we sold them, and when I was trying to decide what to do next, I had decided I wanted to do either a Napa Valley Cabernet winery, a Scotch distillery, or a brewery. And we had, just like everybody else, built a beautiful home in New Braunfels, and we didn't want to move.
Right.
Texas wine in 2011 was not too exciting.
Yeah. Why? Is it because of the heat?
The winemakers in Texas hadn't quite figured out what grapes grow well.
You can say the heat.
Yeah, well, now they actually make awesome wine.
Dude, we could have a debate. Are you crazy? Who's awesome wine? What's wine?
There are 5
what varietal works here?
There's 5 wineries I could take you to that would blow your mind.
I'm going then.
And we work a lot with the wineries in Texas with some of our beers.
Sure.
Both with the barrels and with some of their ingredients.
Makes sense.
And so I will be honest, the Texas wine industry at large is still not that impressive.
For sure.
But there's literally 10% of the juice out there is not only inspiring, but it's actually awesome. They do a good job. Yeah.
So do you have plans to now move into winery eventually?
So I brought that up with my wife, and she wasn't thrilled about it.
Stop starting static, dude. Cheerleader.
Honestly, at this point, I would love to. I have some plans and some ideas of what I would do with it, but the brewery's taking a lot of our time, and there's a lot of growth still happening there. We literally just signed our last deal to cover the whole state distribution-wise, and we are in the process of working with outside the state distributors, which obviously is 50 times the business. So there's a lot of growth there before I decide to start doing something else with my time.
So what separates you from your competition?
Honestly, the biggest thing that we do differently, there are only 4 breweries out of like 300 in the state of Texas that make the style of beer that we make.
Let's talk about that style.
So we call it artisanal farmhouse beer. And essentially what it means is that we don't make a lager, we don't make an IPA, we don't make the typical cans you'll see on the stores shelves. We make farmhouse beer that's drier. Probably the simplest explanation, when I'm doing tastings, I will typically tell somebody what you're about to put in your mouth will remind you more of a dry Sauvignon Blanc white wine than it will a Miller Lite. It doesn't taste like beer to most people's palate.
Okay.
It's drier, it's tart, it's acidic, it's funky.
Right.
A lot of times we use oak, so we'll age stuff in barrels for up to a year, sometimes 3 years. And then we also will add fruit to it and then re-ferment that. So the best way to explain is they're drier.
So I'm looking at your bottle right now. So what fruits are you incorporating with the brewing process?
Well, so what you're holding in your hand right there is a farmhouse Hefeweizen. What that means is that it's brewed like a hef, like you would normally drink.
Sure.
But then we add a wild yeast and bacteria culture that lives in New Braunfels to it. So it's dried out, completely bone dry, and then we add in that case, Hoppin Stockman has hops from New Zealand in it. And so we dry hop it with hops late. So there's no bitterness. It's still clean and refreshing.
Sure.
But it has this very, very big hop aroma, and it tastes kind of like a sour orange marmalade. It's a very unique beer. It was very limited, and it's actually not available anymore. So you guys got a nice little vintage.
Bobby's never drank his entire life.
His whole life?
No joke.
This is true.
Yeah. Well, he's from Laredo.
I know. Yeah. So they don't know
New
any
York?
better. Yeah. So I'll take that.
Okay.
So you lost me there. So you're in the fitness industry,
right?
And then you jumped into some kind of liquor. Walk us through, how'd you get here?
Well, long story short, my wife and I were discussing what we were going to do next, and it was literally one night of drinking, and I said, hey, why don't we do a brewery? She said, okay, and I literally ordered equipment the next morning and just didn't ask again.
Sure.
And then
you take a guess, you run, dude.
Yeah.
I hear you.
So we didn't have a business plan. We didn't have all the things you're supposed to have.
Yeah.
Because I was scared to death if I sat down and did that, she'd say no again. So.
And now you're distributing all through Texas.
Yep. Except for we don't do anything in El Paso because we haven't been able to find a distributor out there, but pretty much everywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're fine. They like Miller Lite and stuff like that. I grew up there.
Schlitz.
Yeah, they're big on the beast. So now you want to take this national. That might be the natural progression, you think?
To an extent, not in the sense that we want to be ubiquitous on every store shelves around the country, but I definitely want to be in those pockets of cool tastemaker places and great restaurants and places around the country that kind of understand the flavor profile of what we do. Absolutely, right. Yeah.
And so next month, which is October, is kind of a big month for the brewing community, right? You guys have something coming up on the horizon?
Yeah, we made a beer inspired by Belgian spontaneous beers about 3 years ago.
What does that mean?
So what it is literally you brew a beer. It's typically a light wheat beer, and then instead of actually adding yeast to it that you would get from your laboratory, you just leave it open. It cools overnight, and whatever's in your air lands on the beer. That's what ferments it. So there's not a lot of consistency to it. In most cases, you don't know exactly what it's going to taste like. We take that beer, and then we put it in barrels.
Like potluck.
Yeah. And so we blended all 3 different years of those barrels together. We'll bottle it tomorrow. And then we'll be releasing it about the beginning of October.
And so you're going to have a big party there?
We will have a huge release for it. Yeah, we don't have the date yet, but it's kind of a big deal for us.
So quick takeaway. So where are you guys located in New Braunfels?
Right in downtown. So if you know where the gazebo is, we're about a block and a half away.
And what's a good website for everyone to check all these things releases out?
nbbrewing.com.
NB like New Braunfels Brewing?
Yep. And then all of our social media is at @NBBrew or /NBBrew.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break, talk to our show sponsors. We'll be right back with Bobby and JJ Radio.